Thank you all very much indeed for taking the time to join us at our second Modern Slavery Symposium as a follow-on from our event last year. My name is Shamir Ghumra. I'm Director of Sustainable Products at BRE. So we've got an incredibly diverse, packed agenda. We've got a few people yet to arrive, and some people have to kind of leave early, so we'll manage that as best we can. I'd like to also thank my colleagues, particularly Seema over there, who's been helping out an awful lot to make all this happen, Gordon from Sustain Worldwide, without whom none of this really would have kind of worked, and particularly, obviously, our sponsors with BSI, CIOB, and obviously our exhibitors who are out there, and all of our partners who've been working with us as part of this wider collaborative effort, which I'll explain a bit more about in a moment. So kind of where we got to and a bit of the narrative in terms of where we are right now today. So last year we had the symposium over at the House of Commons, and a number of you were there. Quite a number of you who are here today weren't there, which is great. We've got an awful lot more representation from industry here today, and that was one of the key things that we had to kind of take away and learn from last year in particular. So particularly in the afternoon, you'll hear case studies, examples, real-life applications of what organizations are actually doing to combat and eradicate modern slavery from their businesses and supply chains. So we obviously convened that symposium conversation last year, and we felt we needed to kind of maintain the momentum of the dialogue. So Gordon and I and a number of organizations in the room, particularly the professional bodies that we were reaching out to, felt that there was something at a higher level that we needed to try and aspire to try and position ourselves as the construction sector, a sector that had been increasingly brought out as an area of higher risk, and an area with the expanded powers of the GLAA that was going to come under greater scrutiny, which I think is fantastic and we welcome. So we felt that there was a great opportunity for us to try and engage and partner with GLAA in particular about how we can move this agenda forward. And learning from the experiences of the retail sector who've been doing lots of this type of activity for a number of years, how can we then extend that and learn from that and then move our sector forward in a voluntary capacity, as we are not licensed as yet. So that's what we really set out to do. And this is very much our level of intent as a series of organizations that form this coalition to try and eradicate modern slavery. So it wasn't about getting into the specifics of what the RIBA or CIOB or SIPS or any other professional body might have been doing already, and many of them have been doing fantastic work for a number of years in this space, that we felt that there was kind of a higher level strategic endeavor that we could try and galvanize our collective level of intent around, and that's what then led to this charter. So we meet 3-4 times a year. It's not a closed shop at all, and lots of other organizations and ETI and others take part in those active conversations about what can we actively do, and we'll hear from others a bit more about that later on in the day. So we obviously thought, well, that's great, it's all nice, we can keep talking about these things, which is always helpful, but what will we actually do? What we need to have some defined outputs, and one of which that Mark will touch upon in a moment was the construction protocol. So last week, myself and a few other organizations actually had the signatories to the protocol for construction, which is a very much a code of conduct, a way of engaging and enabling conversations to work with the GLAA, which Mark will expand on in a moment. So that's very much about how we've got to where we are, and obviously the growing interest in this subject area, and ultimately how we can make a change to hopefully save somebody from exploitation, and regardless of where they're coming out from, whether in construction. And I think for me in particular, it's become increasingly more apparent, as much as we have a particular focus around the built environment and the construction sector, the people who are exploited, the vulnerable workers that often that we find in these difficult circumstances, aren't necessarily exclusively construction workers. They could well be working in agriculture and retail and then actually be moved and ferried around from one sector to another. So as we reach out and establish ourselves as a sector, working with the GLAA, we will also be reaching out with other sectors to understand how we can work more effectively collectively to try and eradicate what we are doing.